All right, folks, speaking of politics, as you all know, my first guest is a 5-time senator from Kansas, the former Senate Majority Leader and the 1996 Republican presidential nominee. His latest book is Great Political Wit, Laughing Almost All the Way to the White House. We're honored to welcome back to the show Senator Bob Dole.
Can I leave a little money for the NBA? Can I?
If you could kick in for the NBA, we'd love it, yeah. You know, there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about here tonight, but I'm not doing my job if I don't ask you the obvious question. Impeachment hearings, the first, actually only the third impeachment hearings I think we've had in this country, are going on right now. What is your take on this? If you were still in the Senate, would you dread this coming to the Senate?
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
I think we need, if it's still possible, to have a bipartisan solution to this problem. I don't see it happening, but it's always the best way to deal with it.
Do you think,
with any serious problem? If
you were still in politics, do you think you could calm down these moderate Republicans, or no? Do you think that they're just going to? Do you think it's going to pass in the House? Is that your prediction?
I don't know. I mean, I think it's close,
yeah.
but I haven't followed it that carefully. I mean, I've even talked to President Clinton about the process months ago. So
I bet he's thrilled with it.
Yeah. Well,
I just love it. Government in action.
I don't think he told me that. But anyway, it's a very serious matter, and it should be dealt with seriously. And it is political in a sense, but hopefully there'll be enough men and women in the Congress and both parties who will do the right thing.
Right. Just do what's best for the country.
Follow the process.
I have to talk about one of the oddest coincidences, I think, probably in American political history, is that throughout this crisis, Monica Lewinsky was your next-door neighbor. Not down the hall, but she's in the next apartment from you in the Watergate. Is that right?
We're in 112, and she was in 114. She moved about a month ago.
Right.
So we may buy the place, but usually we'd have tours on weekends. But
Nice. Did you used to, you know, chat with her in the hallway or anything?
In the hallway, yes.
Very well done.
It's fair to say that we were close to each other for a couple of years. You know. Only a wall apart. You know, so.
Well, you know what's so fascinating is during the presidential campaign, you know, you could have changed everything. You would have great ammunition if just once you had put a glass to the wall and listened to her talking on the phone.
Yeah, I wish I'd have thought of that. But in any event...
you need me in there helping you out.
Right. Well, I needed something. I can't remember what it was, but I've been asked, what would you do differently if you ran again? I said, well, I'd win. You know, it'd be different. But I'll leave that up to Elizabeth. Maybe she'll run.
Oh, that's right. Well, she could run. And then that would make, if she won, that would make you the first man, right?
The first man in history.
Yeah.
So I'd still have a little footnote in the history books.
No, I think you got more than that now already. I wouldn't worry about that.
And I'd have a car and a driver and a beeper. And
that's great. All the things you want. Yeah.
In case I get left behind at some big state function, I could call you or Andy or somebody.
Yeah, don't involve us in this. It wouldn't work out too well. Well, on that, do you still, I mean, people are curious, how involved are you in politics? Do you watch, I imagine it would be difficult for you to watch C-SPAN because they have, you know, the 24-hour coverage of what's happening on the floor and, you know, watching legislation in action. It must be hard for you to watch that. You must yell at the screen a lot.
Well, I do watch. Like anybody else, you have a very young audience tonight. And but, you know, when you retire from whatever you do, you sort of miss it. And you kind of, how can you do this without me and all these things? I thought the Senate would last about 2 weeks after I left, but they're still there. They haven't done anything.
Yeah. No. Let's talk about this book, Great Political Wit, Laughing Almost All the Way to the White House. It's a book of some of your favorite funny quotes from politicians throughout history. And what are some of your favorites that are in the book? There are a lot of them in here, but what are your favorites?
Well, I started with people I knew, like George Washington, and...
Max, give him a rim shot.
I think the best one in the book attributed to Churchill. I can't vouch for it, but Lady Astor was upset with him one evening and said, if you were my husband, I would poison your coffee. She said, if you were my wife, I would drink it. So, and I think among presidents, I think President Reagan and President Kennedy had the best, you know, I think Reagan said one day, I didn't know when I ordered all those B-1s. You know, I thought they were vitamins. I didn't know they were bombers. He had all these B-1s all over America. And President Kennedy had a very quick wit. Adlai Stevenson, many people forget about Adlai Stevenson from Illinois, your home state.
Yep, that's right.
He was once told by someone, if he could all the thinking person's vote, he said, that's not enough. I need a majority. So, so there are a lot of funny people in politics. It's a bipartisan book.
I'm curious about Nixon, because Nixon has this image as being someone who was not funny at all and was the antithesis of funny. Right. But I've also heard people say that he had a good sense of humor. You knew him, is that true?
Yes, I knew Nixon very well, and he had a different sense of humor. He wasn't sort of a quipster or storyteller, but he could laugh at things and laugh at himself. In fact, I think I have a book in there, or a joke in there about Carter, Ford, and Nixon, where it's hear no evil, see no evil, and evil. And...
Wait a minute, Nixon made that joke?
No, I made the joke.
Oh, you made the joke. Yeah, I wouldn't think Nixon would make that joke.
But he liked it.
He liked it? Yeah. He laughed at that?
He did, yes.
He loved it when people called him the quintessence of evil. Well, he enjoyed that.
But I think he had good qualities like all of us, and some that weren't as good as others, but...
right, fascinating guy.
But history will treat Nixon and other presidents, I think, differently.
Well, I'm curious about one last thing. You talk in this book, and it's a funny story, and I want you to tell it, that your daughter, and this is some years ago,
yes.
But you're someone who you always seem to, I think American people are very straight arrow, you do things by the book, but once you tried to use your power and influence to get something for your daughter. Why don't you tell that story?
Well, I wrote the British Embassy. It seemed the Beatles would come to her high school class, you know, to perform.
Did you know who the Beatles were at the time?
Oh, I knew it, sure. I knew who they were, and I knew they were quite busy, but after all, I was a member of Congress. Certainly they would say yes.
Love that you were writing them, and
but
all right, let's do it. Let's get over
this. They just couldn't work it into their schedule, and my daughter Robin was disappointed. But you know, you do things for other people. You don't try not to do too many things that benefit you or your family. But
right.
That's what
you're
there
for. You get into big trouble. The book, great political wit, laughing almost all the way to the White House, is out there right now. This would make a good Christmas gift.
Good holiday gift. It is. You know, I didn't. You know, I compiled it. I put together things that I've laughed at over the years, and people I've laughed about, but it's not partisan in the sense we don't go after anybody. In fact, we even submitted it to Ted Kennedy and people on Bush's staff, President Bush's staff, Ronald Reagan's staff.
Just try to get everybody on both sides.
We didn't want any nasty things in it. We weren't after anyone. We just have a little fun because there's not much to laugh about these days in Washington.
Yeah.
And so the book has
Actually, I found that to be quite untrue. You know how you look at it. Well, check out the book. Great political wit, and Senator Dole. It's always a pleasure when you come here, and we wish you the best. Have a great holiday, and come back soon.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bob Dole.